Good evening. You're watching Just the News. I'm Amita Balachandra. We start off with landslides and heavy rains that are being reported from Guwahati. Fresh landslides, in fact, were reported in Guwahati on Wednesday. Several parts of the city has remained waterlogged over the last couple of days since Monday night. Now, 4 construction workers had died due to a landslide in Guwahati on Tuesday. The state has registered 42 deaths due to floods and landslides this year. Now, the IMD has issued a red alert for Assam and Meghalaya till the 17th of June, warning of heavy rainfall. In the meantime, the opposition parties today took a resolution to field a common candidate for the presidential elections. Now, this comes after leaders of 16 parties attended a meeting called by Trinamool Congress chief and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. Now, 4 parties did not attend the meeting. The parties that skipped the meeting include the Aam Aadmi Party, the Telangana Rashtra Samiti, the Shiromani Akali Dal and the Biju Janata Dal. Now, NDTV reported that Sharad Pawar today refused an offer to run for president, telling the opposition meeting that he, and I quote, still has an active political innings to play, end quote. Now, the presidential polls to elect the successor of Ramnath Kovind is scheduled to be held on the 18th of July and votes will be counted on the 21st of July. In the meantime, according to a report by NDTV, a day after the centre launched Agnipath, a radical recruitment plan for the armed forces, protests erupted in various parts of the country. Now, protesters in Bihar blocked a highway in Muzaffarpur and railway tracks in Buxar. Now, they termed the scheme detrimental to their long-term prospects because only up to 25% of the recruits, or Agniveers as they call it, under the scheme may get regular commission. Now, to give you a bit of a context, the Agnipath scheme was announced yesterday. The new recruitment plan aims to cut down government's massive salary and pension bills and free up funds for arms procurement. Now, under the scheme, about 45,000 people between the age of 17.5 years and 21 years will be inducted into the service for a 4-year tenure. On to COVID news right now. India has reported 8,822 new COVID cases and 15 deaths in the last 24 hours. This is much higher than the 6,000 cases that were reported yesterday. Maharashtra, in the meantime, has reported 2,956 cases and Kerala reported 1,989 cases. Now, these two states have been reporting the highest number of cases so far. Among other cities, Delhi has reported 1,118 cases and Mumbai has reported 1,724 cases. Now, according to a joint study by ICMR and Bharat Biotech, the administration of Covaxin as a booster dose enhances vaccine effectiveness against COVID Delta variant and gives protection against Omicron variants BA.1.1 and BA.2. The National Institute of Virology, the Apex Virology laboratory of the ICMR, conducted the study on hamsters to arrive at the conclusion. Also in the news, China has announced plans to provide visas to Indian professionals and their families stranded in India for over 2 years. In the meantime, China is also processing requests of thousands of Indian students studying in Chinese universities who have conveyed their interest to rejoin their colleges and universities. An update now on Sidhu Moosewala murder case. Indian Express, quoting sources, has said that Gangster Lawrence Bishnoi has been remanded in police custody for 7 days after the Punjab police got his custody earlier. Now, he has been named a key conspirator in singer Sidhu Moosewala's murder, who was shot dead on the 29th of May. Now, Punjab Advocate General Anmol Ratan Sidhu had assured the court yesterday that the state will take full responsibility for the gangster's security. Also in the news, the Calcutta High Court today reserved its order on petitions seeking the deployment of central paramilitary forces in West Bengal after protests were held in the state against remarks made by 2 former BJP leaders about Prophet Muhammad. Now, this was according to a report by Live Law. There were protests in several parts of the country after former BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma's remarks during a TV debate. The petitioners have claimed that the violence was due to, and I quote, utter intelligence failure in the state. Also in the news, according to state news agency WAM, the UAE has ordered a 4-month suspension in exports and re-exports of wheat and wheat flour originating from India. Now, India is the world's second biggest producer of the grain. Now, UAE's economy ministry has said that the move was ordered due to interruptions in global trade flows. It also added that India had approved exports of wheat to the UAE for domestic consumption. And this is according to a report by Reuters, which is quoted state agency, news agency WAM. Now, remember, India had earlier banned wheat exports on the 14th of May, except for those backed by already issued letters of credit and to countries seeking to ensure food security. Since then, it has allowed shipments of around 4.69 lakh tons of wheat. Moving on to business news right now, data released by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation has shown that India's unemployment rate has now dipped further to 4.2% in 2020-21. This comes even after the period witnessed 2 waves of the pandemic, which had left millions of workers without work and resulted in suspension of field work. Now, in 2019-20, the unemployment rate was 4.8%, and in 2018-19, it was 5.8%. Also in the news, the centre has announced that the cabinet has cleared a proposal of the Department of Telecommunications to hold a 5G spectrum auction for telecom services. Now, the auction will be held by the end of July. According to the centre, a total of 72,000 odd megahertz of spectrum with a validity period of 20 years will be put to auction. Moving on to news from across the globe right now, WHO Director General has said that the global outbreak of monkeypox is unusual and concerning. Now, an emergency meeting committee will be formed to assess the rising cases being reported in over 39 countries. And so far this year, more than 1,600 confirmed cases and almost 1,500 suspected cases of monkeypox have been reported. Now, monkeypox is a rare transmissible infection that is mainly spread by wild animals like rodents and primates in parts of West or Central Africa. Also, the Canadian government has announced that it will end COVID vaccine requirement for domestic travel and to work in civil services from the 20th of June. Now, travelers from other countries would still need to provide proof of vaccination while entering Canada. However, the mandate was put on hold for anybody leaving Canada. This comes after nearly 90% of eligible Canadians are vaccinated. One piece of good news before we wrap things up here on this bulletin: Mumbai's international airport has become the first in India to explore utilization of wind energy for consumption purposes. Now, under the pilot project, a vertical axis wind turbine unit and solar PV hybrid have been installed at the airport. And this is according to Hindustan Times, where the project aims to ensure round-the-clock energy generation, harnessing maximum energy through wind power systems while also enabling a highly efficient and low-carbon future in the aviation sector. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching.